Collingwood's VFL side lose the last home and away match of the season, meaning they'll play a wildcard round. Oh, let's talk about it. So today I went to Port Melbourne in this weird Melbourne weather where it was rainy, then sunny, then rainy, then sunny, then pouring down. It was crazy, but even crazier was the result of this game. The Pies needed to win to guarantee that they don't play in the wildcard round, which is an elimination, before the finals start. And Port Melbourne were 17th on the ladder. And I really thought, maybe not a walk in the park, but I thought this was going to be a good win. You know, we had a couple of premiership Pies playing. So Titch was playing, Mason Cox, Will Hoskin-Elliott. And at the start, we looked pretty good. We kicked like 5 goals in that first quarter. And by halftime, we were leading by a bit. And I thought we had a decent first half. But then after halftime, Port Melbourne came out and just pretty much absolutely dominated, didn't let us play the game on our terms. And, they were backed by their really decent home crowd for their final game of the season. So they're not playing finals. And in that last quarter, they absolutely monstered us. And we just didn't look the part. We didn't look the part at all. So, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit disillusioned with this VFL. Well, maybe not the VFL side themselves, but some of the players in this VFL side. Now, Collingwood, for the most part, like I just said, we played pretty good. Like, for the most, maybe not pretty good, we played good for that first half, and then that was it. It just fell through. And some of these senior players that you would think would be sort of leading from the front and showing the teams how to get it done, they just weren't there. Like, I'll give kudos to Mason Cox. I thought he had a fantastic game. He had 8 marks, 4 of those were contested, kicked a goal, was rucking pretty well. And I thought he was getting himself into some really good positions, but he just had no help. Will Hoskin-Elliott and Tom Mitchell go down to the VFL. They get omitted from the team, and they just didn't give us what we wanted, right? In my personal opinion, they just looked pretty cooked. And I hate to say that. You know that I hate to say that sort of stuff. But they just looked cooked. Tom Mitchell couldn't run from contest to contest. And I know I was big on Ned Long being dropped and for Tom Mitchell. But this is probably why. He just looked slow and showing his age, and I hate to say, I really, really do. And Will Hoskin-Elliott was the same, but Will Hoskin-Elliott in that first quarter got on a nice defensive transition, kicked a nice goal thanks to Will Hayes setting him up. But then when the game was on the line and when the game mattered, they just looked half-hearted, really. And it was disappointing. But now our VFL side is playing in a wildcard round, and I've always said that if you want to go fight with, your AFL team into like the grand final or deep into September, you need to see how these players are playing. And now we've got extra work for us to do. And I understand that, we've taken out some VFL players like Parker, Allen, Markov is the flying emergency, and a couple of these guys. But, and I know our injury list is what it is. But against the 17th placed Port Melbourne, who are playing in their final home and away season, I get that they've got that fire to finish their season well with a win, and I completely understand that. But, it was just not the Collingwood that you would expect, and it was actually pretty disappointing. Besides a few standout players, which I'll talk about in a second, it was just really, really disappointing, and nothing that they showed me in this game gave me confidence that we would bat deep into finals. If we lose this wildcard round, then that's it. We're eliminated from finals. So I don't know if it's the buys that stuff us up because we can't get that continuity, if it's taking out big chunks of players all the time, or that were just so lackadaisical in is that the right word? In that second half, like it was just going to happen. And, it just didn't fall our way. Port Melbourne clearly wanted it more, and I think that's what hurt the most. And towards the end, it was pretty good. It was goal for goal, and Brady Gray kicked one, Roan Steele kicked one, and I thought, okay, we might pull away a win and literally steal a win, because that's what it felt like. It felt like we didn't deserve to win that, and we go on and not win that game. Port Melbourne closed it up with a couple of goals towards the end, and they only got in front, from memory, they only got in front right at the end. I don't think they were leading at all throughout the first 3 quarters. And yeah, it was just it was just disappointing. It was just a disappointing game. But let's talk about some of our standouts. Now, we've been pretty good in the mid-season draft. Noah House kicked another 3 goals. So you got to remember he's leading that forward line without like a Charlie West up there sort of helping him out. And I can't wait to see what they both look like working in tandem. We've really found a player in Noah House. He's the one that continues to try. And towards the end, I think it was the third quarter, he copped a hit and he was sort of limping off. But he looked okay as he was sort of getting off. But he put all his heart and effort into it, and he was definitely trying. You could see that. But the biggest one for me and best on ground for me was Rowan Steele. He had 32 disposals, 2 tackles, a bunch of clearances, 6 inside 50s. We've 100% found our next winger for the next 10 years, I reckon. He was just, maybe 10 years is a bit of exaggeration, but for a very, very, very long time. He is the next gen of Collingwood. He looks absolutely great. He's doing exactly what you want him to do. And he's only been with the club for less than 6 months. So imagine with a full preseason under his belt. We've really done well in this mid-season draft because the 2 standouts today were the 2 mid-season draftees. And Rowan Steele, I'm surprised he hasn't played more in the AFL side because we could use his run. We could use his ball use. He's got good footy IQ. He just like I personally would have probably put him in instead of Will Parker. So I'm interested to see how Parker and Allen go. But Rowan Steele, we've 100% found a great, probably 150, 200 game player. Maybe not 200, maybe 150 game player. He just looks phenomenal. So I can't wait to see how he grows. And where he goes from here, especially with the preseason. Noah and Rowan have only got 6-month contracts, so they're contracted until October or whatever it is. So the Collingwood will need to extend them or see what they're going to do. But I hope they do because they are both fantastic players. Tommy McGuan played as well. He showed a couple of signs, but again, 17-year-old playing with senior players. He had 12 disposals, kicked it behind. So he did a couple of nice things, but I'm not expecting Tommy to unleash and have this world-blowing game as a 17-year-old. So still a junior going up against these harder bodies. Di Mattia had a low game as well. There was a lot of players. There was a lot more players that played poorly than there were players that play. I was going to say goodly. Then there were players that played good. And Mason Cox, like I just said a little bit earlier, he was absolutely fantastic. Will he get a game? Look, I thought he was going to play against Adelaide. Probably has to wait for an injury, but he did nothing wrong that I could see to make it look like he didn't want to be there because he looked like a man that wanted to play or wants to play senior football. And as much as I love Tom Mitchell and as much as I love Will Hoskinelli and thank them for everything that they've done, they just didn't look up to it. And it honestly pains me to say that they didn't look up to it because these 2 guys were playing senior football most of the year, except for Tom Mitchell. And Tom Mitchell had a good game against the Hawks by our standards because we had a bad game against the Hawks. But obviously, this is why. And you would think that if you get dropped like this, you want to, coming into finals, you want to play really, really good. And I can't see them making a case for putting their hand up to play. Now, Mason Cox is different. I can see him making a case, but unless one of the forwards have a really, really poor game, or an injury, I don't think he fits into the team at the moment because I thought he fit into the team against Adelaide. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But with everyone else, the only guy that could put his hand up would be Rowan Steele out of this. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Rowan Steele next week against Melbourne. Like, I know that's probably going to be the game that we win, but I would still like to see him just absolutely smash it at the MCG again. But everyone else just didn't really give us much. Finn McRae had 29 though. I thought he was doing good. This might be his 3rd or 4th game back. Had quite a number of tackles as well. The VFL list of players, Christian Allegri did well. Who else I got in my notes? Glover always holding down Red. Brady Gray has been a great addition to this team. Kicked a nice goal in that last quarter. But yeah, it was just a really, really disappointing game. And I feel I'm in a weird mood. I feel just disillusioned. And, I'm hoping that we're a little bit happier with our AFL team and hope they win. But on the opposite side to that, our VFLW girls won their semi-final, and they're going into a grand final 2 years after they actually lost to Port Melbourne in a VFLW grand final, and most of our players left the club, so we've had to start from new beginnings, really. I was at that Port Melbourne game. That was sad, that grand final. I was out for the banner for that game, actually. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I really don't know what to think. It just didn't look like we were up for the fight, and I don't know if they're trying to play bruise-free football or something because they thought it was just going to happen for them, but it just absolutely didn't happen for us. And yeah, I don't see anyone really just putting their hand up besides Ronan and maybe Mason Cox and saying, I want to play senior football. But did you watch the game? Let me know your thoughts down below, because I just can't think at the moment. I don't know what to think. But leave your comments down below. And until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.